Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. Tommy Krysan, along with Ronnie Rance, TK over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studio. And we're presented by LeBears Casino, where Major League Baseball is heating up now that we get into the month of August. This is when the fun time of MLB baseball really gets into full effect. You start looking at the trade deadline came and went. We'll talk about the big goings on there. You start talking about playoff races and everything down the stretch for the next 60 days. We are going to be all into it. And, oh, by the way, the White Sox, who've had such a brutal year with injuries and guys not playing well, and, I mean, they're basically starting to sell off all their good players and build for the future, finally got a little good news last night, Tommy.
What was that?
Talking about the White Sox. Got some good news last night. Didn't you say
Valdez?
Didn't Valdez throw a no-hitter?
He pitches for the Astros.
Okay. My bad. I thought you told me the starter. Oh, Valdez, the lefty for the Astros who's pitched opening day. My goodness. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we were there at Minute Maid Park. Yeah, we got our wires crossed. No big deal. No Valdez.
I was thinking the White Sox story. Valdez, who, by the way, a left-handed pitcher whose probably best pitch is his screwball changeup. But, oh, by the way, he throws like 97. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the easiest mid-upper 90s fastball you've ever seen. The guy got a little belly on him, lifts the leg. You're worried about that changeup, and then all of a sudden that big fastball, I mean, like, let's not sleep on it. It's unbelievable. He's just like, he's got the ponytail going. I mean, it's a different-looking thing, but he is so good.
Yeah, he does something that not enough kids do in youth ball and high school ball. He moves around on the rubber, and depending on who's batting and all that. And he's one of the few people that do that. Many pitchers they anchor down in that one spot, and that can be a big advantage depending on who's batting, how close they are to the plate or whatever. That's one of the reasons Valdez is so effective.
Well, that's sort of a new in the last probably 10 years thing because when you and I were growing up, and Coach Bertman, quite frankly, he taught lefties threw on the left side of the rubber, righties threw on the right side of the rubber. And his rationalization back then was it created an angle, right? If you're a left-handed pitcher and you're all the way on the left-handed side of the rubber and you're throwing inside to a righty, it creates that, angle that creates a different perspective. Or if you're a lefty, the breaking ball kind of comes behind the head of the hitter, or he looks at you started out at the hitter and it breaks over the plate, and the same for the righty. So that was the way that it was taught forever. Well, now it's a little different way of teaching, and I think a lot of it has to do, I believe, with the changeup. The changeup is being thrown more and more and more in the last 10 years, and it's creating that running away from a hitter effect. Imagine if you're a lefty and most of the batters you face are right-handed because the lineups are getting stacked against you. If you're a lefty pitcher, they're going to try to put as many right-handed bats about. They want that ball going away from the hitter, right? And so if you got that changeup, it's just going to run. And so it's different strokes for different folks. I think you got to know your stuff, but that's sort of a new thing in the last maybe 10, 15 years where it used to be the other way.
Yeah, and plus when we were playing Little League, they had the big hole in the mound, and everybody you had to put your foot there. You were going to break your ankle. The fields didn't look like they look now. We never saw turf as kids. So, Northwestern State up in Natchez had turf when I was in college, only on the infield. It was the most brutal turf ever. It was like a Super Ball bouncing on it. Nobody else had turf that I knew of in college back then. And then, of course, when you were in college, it was about 10 years later, I don't think they
were the same. They were still the same way. They were the only team.
The Northwestern State, yeah. So they were ahead of the curve there with the turf.
So clearly they invented more turf and they invented clay because they didn't fill in the holes back then. I don't know what it was. Mound clay didn't exist because they were giant holes, either where you landed or by the rubber. It's just funny how fields are so much better now than they were not that long ago, and it's kind of like. It's kind of like when you go to a golf course. If you go to a golf course and it's woolly, like the tee boxes are woolly, or the rough is just uncut, right? It's not kept. Everybody's got a lawnmower. It's just like, is it what's acceptable? Like if I'm the maintenance guy at a golf course, I'm looking at that thinking we need to cut that. We need to make it a little shorter. it's like when you look back at the old baseball fields, and when I say old, I mean like, in the 90s, 80s even. It's so many videos you see, like, couldn't they have edged that a little better? Couldn't they have cut that grass a little tighter? Like, it didn't have to look like that, but I guess it was just more acceptable. It's so funny. You look back at the old
a sign of the times.
It's funny. You look back at the old 40s and 50s Major League Baseball; those fields were brutal. And then all the trash on the field, all the stuff from the stands, the
hot
cups
dog wrappers and
just unbelievable. It was just all over the field. All right, so Major League Baseball, the trade deadline came and went. What's the big 2 or 3 takeaways now?
Well, Texas is the big takeaway. The Rangers get Max Scherzer from the Mets. The Astros get Verlander. He comes back to Houston after somewhat of not a friendly departure, but it's all been patched over. I saw the press conference with him, and they're going to fight it out in the American League West. It's 2 of the best teams. Rangers score a lot of runs, but they've had pitching issues and injuries. With Evaldi going on the IL just the other day. They're going to get Scherzer. Scherzer and Verlander are guys that have been there, done that in the clutch situations, playoff run, and in the playoffs. So that's why these 2 teams went and got the Orioles, who are having a year that nobody saw coming. They get the pitcher Flaherty from St. Louis. Braves are really good. It's going to be a fun. I know everybody's going into the football brain, but baseball is going to be really excited in the major leagues. All the races and the wild card races are pretty darn close. So we're going to see how that goes. But should be a lot of fun for baseball fans.
By the way, Scherzer and Verlander, they're battling in Texas. Obviously, one with the Astros, one with the Rangers for postseason, but also they already did this, right, in the World Series. And Scherzer got the better of Verlander a few years ago when he was with the Nationals and won a World Series. Will Harris was on that team and got a ring as a reliever. But this time around, I think Verlander might get the best of him. Verlander is the better pitcher in 23 than Scherzer. Now, does he have the better team? We shall see. And the other big story, of course, is the Yankees didn't do anything. Like, what is going on? When did the Yankees sit on their hands? It's not like the Yankees have this great team. Like, the Yankees didn't do anything in the trade. What do we have a reason?
30 teams, 29 made at least some kind of transaction, and some of those were minor. Yankees, not one single trade, one single move by the Yankees, and they're 10.5 games out of first place. So, what you going to do there? So even the Blue Jays, Bichette got hurt running the bases. They went and got DeYoung, the shortstop from the Cardinals, because they had to have an immediate fix. So, you got the Yankees. I don't know why. They got the money, they got all the TV, they got the big city, but they didn't get it done.
And the other news, of course, is that Ohtani didn't get traded. If you'd have asked you or I 2 weeks ago, we'd have both said, yeah, that was going to happen.
Well, yeah, I thought he would wear a different uniform, after the trade deadline, but it's not the case. He will be a free agent at the end of the year, but they did get some pitching help for him. They're going to try to make a run. They hadn't been in the playoffs since 2014, and the ownership is committed to try to make a run. Still no word whether Ohtani will play for them next year. We just have to wait and see. Trout's still on the IL, so they got a little ways to go. They got a little work to do. We'll see if they can get it done.
LSU football starts tomorrow. Camp. It's not the old days of camp where they used to go 2-a-days, and it's tomorrow nonetheless. And your thoughts.
Well, they're going to start practicing. Brian Kelly's going to meet with the media tomorrow after that first practice, and probably not going to get a lot out of that, but at least he's going to do that. Media will be limited on how much stuff they can put out there, but we'll have to see how it goes. There's going to be a lot of talk from Jaden Daniels to Harold Perkins, who was out at a Rougarou game last month. It's going to be a lot of talk as to what is going to go on with the LSU football team. CBS preseason poll, Tigers are ranked number 4.
Speaking of LSU, they put out an email. I got an email from LSU. They still have some season tickets available, and they even have individual game tickets available, but no season tickets available in the lower bowl. No 2 together in the upper west, which is the shade side, right? They do have they have individual season tickets over there, and then on the east side, upper deck, there's some season tickets available. But that's it. Expected to be a giant year. It's been a very good offseason for BK. He saved his marriage, rescinded the divorce papers. And the top 8 players in the state of Louisiana, according to the rankings, have all committed, for next year's class. So off-season wise, the portal, they got players like, can they be good enough in 23 to beat Georgia? I think people in Baton Rouge are fine with just beating Alabama. Can they do that again?
Well, another thing, Ronnie, on social media, I've seen more than a handful trying to unload 2 seats or unload 4 seats or whatever. A little more than normal. I guess that always happens when somebody decides, hey, if I can sell these and get my money back. But it seems like a little more than normal. And again, great expectations for the Tigers. Picked 3rd overall in the SEC, 2nd in the West. CBS has got them number 4 in their first rankings that came out yesterday. Georgia won. Obviously, they got Michigan, Ohio State 2-3, then LSU 4. So we'll see. Going to be fun. Again, football season's here.
Northwestern up in Chicago. The hits just keep on coming from them. More news out of there. Remember, big class action lawsuit about hazing. We're now hearing other schools. People are starting to rumble. I was hazed. But now a guy, Diaz, who was an offensive lineman who played 05 to 08, he's throwing in the hazing term. He's throwing in the racial mistreatment term. He's a Mexican-American, and he's saying how his offensive line coach may have used some racially, Mexican-related jokes or speech or something like that. Tommy?
Right, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going.
Tommy, Louis Garcia, who's been on this show many times, and anybody who's listened to this show knows he's one of my best friends. He's a Cuban-American. He's from Miami. We had a bunch of Cubans on our team at LSU. We had guys that spoke Spanish. If any of them wanted to come out and say all the things and the jokes and all the stuff that was said about them or to them, LSU baseball would be shut down. But like, when is it going to, everybody makes fun of everybody, whether you're short, fat, black, white, whether you're, tall, short, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from Livingston Parish, or you're from St. Charles Parish, or you're from Chalmette Parish, you're from Lachebra, whatever. Everybody on a team, it makes fun of each other. Coaches make fun of players. Players make fun of coaches, but it's a brotherhood where you can say that, right? It's the same reason that you can have why is it okay for African Americans to say the N-word to each other, but other people can't? It's because it's their thing. It's their brotherhood. They have their terms and meanings, and it's not offensive and all that, but it's offensive if somebody else says it. It's the same way on a team, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, volleyball. It doesn't matter. On a team, just like if it was your family, you can make fun of each other and say things to each other and give each other a hard time that aren't acceptable in public. If you said it at the grocery store to a stranger, but if you say it to your brother or sister behind closed doors, or you say it to your teammates, it's not the same. So this guy sees dollar bills. This former offensive lineman that played almost, 15 years ago, is seeing dollar bills and coming out and saying, oh, I was racially mistreated. And we all know it probably happened. The coach probably spoke in an accent a few times and made a few jokes about tacos or something. And now, I was, what? Come on, man. And if this is okay, if this guy's going to get paid, this Diaz guy's going to get paid, bro, this is going to happen everywhere. You're going to see sellouts all over, going back 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, saying, I went to Cincinnati and this happened. It's going to be bad. If this guy starts getting money and these people start getting money for things that have happened in college, and there's hazing and then there's hazing, right? There's physical abuse and there's, sexual abuse, and then there's hazing. And so everybody was hazed in every sport. And if all of a sudden these people start getting money, Tommy, where's it going to end? And it could be the demise of what we know in college athletics.
Really, right? And you make you talk about family. How many times at Thanksgiving, oh, Uncle Harold's had too much to drink. He'll be falling asleep soon. Or Aunt Mary won't shut up. You know, I mean, every family has that. You can talk about. I'm like you. This guy gets money. I mean, somehow they got to say, look, if you got hazed in the last 2 years, speak up now. Name names. Don't say an assistant coach. You know, come up with the facts, and then if it's correct, it is. But 15 years ago, Ronnie, I'm like you. I played college baseball before you. Yeah, we had a Cuban guy, Jorge Martinez, the first baseman from Tampa. We made fun of him every day at practice. He laughed about it. I haven't seen him since, but I remember that, you know, because he spoke Spanish. Nobody else did. I remember it being a thing that, you know, couldn't happen today, but it happened then.
Well, and that's the thing. At some point, you know, we have to say, okay, we've learned. We've all gotten more politically correct. We don't do things like that. You know, you don't say things around the office the way as loosely as you used to. You know, we learn from it. But like at some point, there's a line, right? Like, you know, okay, well, I mean, we're going to go back forever. I mean, things that happen, like, you know, it's one thing if you kill somebody or you molest somebody or something. There should be no statute of limitations on any of that, right? But, you know, hey, I said something around the water cooler in '88. Well, we know that we can't say that around the water cooler now. But like, we're going to go back and punish somebody from saying that around the water cooler in '88. I think it's just, man, like it's ridiculous. Now, here's an interesting story. It must be something in the Midwest. Over at Iowa State, their starting quarterback last year, who started 12 games for them, may be suspended the whole year. We'll see what the NCAA decides because, Tommy, he placed 366 bets on DraftKings for only a total of $2,795. That's less than $10 a bet, okay? But two things. One, you can't do it. You're an NCAA athlete. And two, he was under 21. He used like his dad's name or information or whatever to do it. But now, you know, of those 366 bets, 26 of them were on Iowa State athletics, and one of them was on an Iowa State football game that he didn't play in, by the way. He was hurt or something like that. He didn't play in that game. But how many athletes, you know, I don't know how they're going to be able to track it, but they're, you know, DraftKings and all this stuff that we advertise, there's apps everywhere. This is the tip of the iceberg as well. I mean, he ain't the only athlete out there betting on sports.
He's not. And for every one they uncovered, there's 1,000 other athletes that did basically the same thing. So, you know, hey, it's the world we live in, but it's crazy. And who knows when the wheels are going to stop spinning, you know, both with the hazing stuff, the betting stuff. I mean, it's the Wild Wild West for sure.
Speaking of the Wild Wild West, the Baton Rouge Rougarou lost a wild one last night in 10 innings in the playoffs. First round, the Texas Collegiate League playoffs. It's a 2 out of 3 series against the Brazos Valley Bombers. They're the number 1 seed. The Rougarou are the number 4 seed. It was 3-1 going into the bottom of the ninth. Landry Wilkerson with the 2 outs hits a 2-run homer for the Rougarou to tie it, but the Rougarou give up 2 in the top of the 10th. International rules where you start with an inning with a man on second, no outs. Give up 2 runs in the top of the 10th. Score 1 in the bottom of the 10th, but could not get that last run. And so now they are on the road traveling as we speak to Brazos Valley. They play tonight at 7 o'clock. If they win, that'll force a game 3 in Texas tomorrow night. You can watch the action on brrougarou.com. Click on the schedule, click on the watch tab, or go to texascollegiateleague.com. You can watch the game. So hopefully the Rougarou can win tonight and all that. But if not, this will be the final game of the year.
Well, they need to pretend it's the 5th inning at the beginning of the game tonight, because Sunday night over at Acadiana, they exploded after the 5th inning, including 7 runs in 1 frame, and then ended up winning that game in a wild shootout. Last night, they were down and hanging. All of a sudden, after the 5th inning, they only had a couple of hits through. In fact, at one time, they had 3 hits, all 3 were by Landry Wilkerson. So, you know, they kind of got going. So tonight, I think Coach Cody Jamison needs to say, all right, guys, 5th inning, when it's really the first, and maybe they can get going, get a better start, because their backs are to the wall. They're facing elimination tonight if they lose in the semifinal round. So go to TCL TV and check it out.
Yeah, going to be fun. Playoff sports is fun no matter what. If they win the series, if they're to win Wednesday and Thursday, they'd play a 1-game winner-take-all. in Texas. So go check it out. brrougarou.com. Get your Rougarou gear, by the way. Get your 2023 Rougarou gear at brrougarou.com. Got hats, got jerseys, all that kind of stuff online there. Tommy, we'll be back on Friday. When we come back on Friday, we've got a little Atlanta Braves video we're going to show you, shouting out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Paul Bird, Ron Washington, we're going to show you that clip, about a 3-minute clip on Friday. Pretty cool stuff there. Until then, tell us about Tremonti's.
Well, they're loading up for lunch right now, as you can hear. Lasagna is a special. Got plenty of po' boys, salads, everything you want for lunch. They're putting together their tailgate and party packages for high school football, college football, the Saints, parties at your house, or you're going to somebody's house. Tremonti's.com. Check them out on Jefferson Highway. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
All right. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. We'll be back on Friday morning. Until then, please like and share this video. Please help us out. And thanks for watching Sports Shorts, presented by our good friends over at LeBear's Casino and the Barstool Sportsbook.